July 29th, 1944, somewhere in southern England. Annoyed. "Let me get this straight," Charlie Thompson said, wiping axle grease off his fingers with a rag that used to be a sock. "You're reassigning me, the best damn wrench turner in the 405th motor pool, to drive a truck?" The sergeant nodded, looking like a man who had given up explaining things several orders ago. "Yep, orders came through. Need more drivers, less mechanics. Apparently, trucks don't drive themselves." Charlie looked at the olive drab monster behind him, a GMC CCKW 2.5-ton cargo truck, affectionately called a Jimmy. Less affectionately, known among mechanics as that green bastard that eats clutches for breakfast. Charlie squinted at it. Did someone put a hit out on me? "No," the sergeant said, "but if you keep talking, I might." Charlie was Chicago-born and bred. He'd been working on engines since he could walk, or more accurately, crawl, under a Model A Ford. He'd joined the Army to fix things, not to get shot at, but apparently the Army had other plans, and those plans included Ernie Gutierrez, his newly assigned driving partner. Ernie showed up wearing aviator sunglasses, a baseball cap that said Brooklyn Brawlers, and a grin wide enough to have its own zip code. "Oh, you must be my new co-pilot," Ernie said. "Name's Gutierrez, but folks call me Radio, because I never shut up." "Oh, good," Charlie muttered. "Just what I wanted, a sidekick with a built-in sound system." Ernie clapped him on the back. "This is going to be great. 2 guys, 1 truck, infinite adventure, like a buddy picture, but with more BO and less script." Charlie was already regretting his life choices. They were assigned truck number 524, which Charlie immediately dubbed the Rattler, because it made a noise like a bag of wrenches being shaken by a drunk gorilla. They spent 2 days loading it: gas cans, ammo crates, rations, spare boots, and inexplicably, a crate marked "Top Secret Army Ice Cream Machine." "Are we invading Germany with desserts?" Charlie asked. "Morale is a weapon," Ernie replied solemnly. August 2nd, 1944, Red Ball Express route. Start point. The operation briefing was short, chaotic, and delivered by a colonel who looked like he hadn't slept since D-Day. "You will drive in convoys. You will follow the red signs. You will not stop unless your truck is on fire. And even then, you better think twice." He pointed at Charlie. "You, mechanic, fix on the move." Then at Ernie. "You, Radio, shut up." Saluting, "Sir, yes, sir," Ernie replied, not shutting up. Then with a wave of a flag and a cloud of diesel smoke, the convoy. "Before we begin tonight's story, I'm really curious. Where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it there, right now? Just take a moment, close your eyes, and notice your surroundings. Wherever you are, I'm so glad you're here." Charlie's first hour of driving was mostly spent trying to keep the truck from veering into a ditch while dodging potholes, goats, and what he could only assume were landmine craters. "This is nothing like Cicero Avenue," he muttered. Ernie leaned back, boots on the dash, chewing on a stick of gum like it owed him money. "You ever think we're just ants hauling crumbs for the big guys?" Charlie grunted. "Nah, ants get better work schedules." Suddenly the truck lurched. Charlie cursed. "What was that?" They pulled over, checked the wheels, nothing obvious. But then Charlie spotted it, a French chicken stuck in the undercarriage, clucking angrily. "Seriously?" Charlie said. "A chicken?" Ernie shrugged. "War is hell." They freed the chicken, who strutted off like a diva who'd just survived a red carpet disaster. Night fell. blackout curtains over headlights, a darkness so thick you could lose your mind in it. "Can't see Jack," Ernie whispered. Charlie muttered, "Just follow the cat eyes. Hope the guy ahead knows where he's going." An hour later, that hope proved unfounded when truck number 523 drove straight into a hedgerow. They sat there, in silence, watching branches wave where a truck used to be. Ernie broke the silence. "Maybe it saw something in the hedge. Love at first sight?" Charlie sighed. "We're gonna die out here." At the midnight refuel stop, Charlie tried to scavenge coffee. What he got was motor oil in a mug. "This is just grease water," he complained. "Army-grade caffeine," the cook said. "Drink it or die." Charlie drank it. Vision blurred, could now see through time. As they rolled on through the night, Ernie dozed off. Charlie was alone with his thoughts, the hum of the engine, and the ridiculous red dot painted on the truck bumper. Somewhere up ahead, Patton was screaming for gas. Behind him, Eisenhower was screaming at Patton, and in between, just Charlie, Ernie, and a chicken somewhere in the French woods with PTSD. August 3rd, 1944. Northern France, near Le Mans. The sun rose like a dull flashlight behind a dirty sheet. Charlie Thompson blinked at it through a smeared windshield. "Sleepy. Is it morning already?" Ernie. "I dreamt I was driving a truck made of baguettes." "You drooled on the map again, Charlie. We're 5 miles off route." "No big deal, Ernie. France is mostly in one direction." Charlie pinched the bridge of his nose. "I don't know how you made it through basic." Ernie. "Charm and an almost criminal amount of luck." They were trying to rejoin the main Red Ball route, a 2-lane ribbon of bomb-scarred tar that, at its best, resembled a paved argument between engineers. But the shortcut they took? Not on any army map. The road narrowed into a path. The path became a trail, and the trail became, well, Charlie peered ahead. "That's not a road." Ernie. "Looks passable." "It's a pig track with ambition." Charlie stopped the truck. Ernie hopped down and poked the ground. "It's firm," he said confidently. A second later, his left boot vanished up to the ankle. Ernie paused. "Mostly firm." They debated, then flipped a coin. It landed in the mud and was never seen again. So, naturally, they kept going. The Rattler bounced down the slope, rattling like an angry washing machine. Mud sprayed, tires groaned, and somewhere beneath the truck's chassis, something made a noise like a dying accordion. "We're gonna get stuck," Charlie said, hands tight on the wheel. Ernie. "We're making history." 10 seconds later, the rear wheels sunk with a whump. "See?" Charlie said. "History." Charlie climbed out. His boot immediately sank. "Perfect," he said. Ernie followed, promptly lost a shoe, and decided to carry on barefoot, swearing at every stick and rock like they owed him money. Together they surveyed the situation. The truck sat at a crooked angle, the back wheels buried to the axle in what could only be described as culinary-grade quagmire. "We need traction," Charlie said. "Find brush, logs, anything." Ernie nodded and wandered off about medieval torture devices and mud spirits. After 30 minutes, they had 1 armful of wet sticks, a very flat French tire they'd found in a ditch, an improvised tow cable made from belts, rope, and something Charlie suspected was part of someone's underwear. Charlie wedged the sticks under the tires. Ernie manned the throttle. Give her gas! Ernie revved. The truck lurched and launched a solid arc of mud that hit Charlie full in the chest, face, and pride. Charlie stood there, dripping. Ernie peeked out the window. Did it work? Charlie spat mud. Do I look free? Ernie nodded. Spiritually? Maybe. Just when Charlie was about to declare the war a total loss, a French farmer in overalls and a beret emerged from the trees. He had a mule, a pipe, and the kind of mustache that suggested he took wine very seriously. Charlie waved. Bonjour! We're, American. Camion. Stuck. The farmer looked at the truck, then at the sky, then at Charlie, still covered in mud. Then he said, in perfect English, "You are idiots." Charlie blinked. Yeah, that tracks. The farmer sighed. Follow me. 15 minutes later, the mule was hitched to the front bumper. Charlie looked skeptical. You think that mule can pull a 2-ton truck? His name is Napoleon, the farmer said. He has opinions about Germans. Charlie shrugged. Fair. Napoleon the mule leaned forward. With a groan, the truck shifted, then rolled, then popped free like a cork from a wine bottle. Charlie whooped. We're out! Ernie leaned out the window. Long live Napoleon! Napoleon kicked a mud clod directly into Ernie's face. Charlie grinned. I like that mule. Back on something resembling a real road, they drove in silence for a while. Charlie wiped dried mud from the dash. This truck's gonna smell like wet socks forever. Ernie pulled something from under the seat. You want a leftover ration biscuit? Charlie took it, bit down, and immediately regretted it. Why does this taste like despair? Because it's the same recipe they used in the Civil War, Ernie said, with minor updates for maximum sadness. They finally rejoined the convoy just outside Le Mans. The lead truck's driver, a wiry Texan named Buck, leaned out and eyed them. You boys go sightseeing? Charlie gestured at the mud-streaked truck. We took the scenic sewer. Buck nodded like that made sense. Good to have you back. Commander's twitching about the schedule. Charlie grimaced. What else is new? As they rolled forward, Ernie glanced at Charlie. You ever feel like this war's just one long delivery route with bullets? Charlie thought for a second. Nah, he said. Delivery drivers get better pay. That night, they camped beside a field of apple trees. Charlie tuned up the engine, while Ernie tried to build a fire using damp sticks and sheer optimism. Any news on where we go next? Charlie asked. Ernie shrugged. I overheard some guys say we're heading toward Argentan. Patton's pushing hard. Charlie rubbed the back of his neck. More mud. And probably some bullets, Ernie added cheerfully. Charlie. Great. But look on the bright side, Ernie said, tossing a half-lit match at the fire, which sputtered and died. At least we didn't die today. The fire finally caught. Yet, Charlie muttered. In the distance, a rumble of artillery echoed faintly. But for now, the Red Ball Express kept rolling, with trucks, with mud, with mules named Napoleon, and with two knuckleheads just trying to keep moving forward, one muddy mile at a time. August 5th, 1944, somewhere near Alençon, France. Charlie Thompson had reached that sacred stage of sleep deprivation where his eyelids felt like sandbags and his brain was trying to write its own screenplay without his permission. In this one, he was back home in Chicago, riding the L with his high school crush while eating a steak sandwich the size of a Buick. Then Ernie kicked him in the shin. "Wake up, Chief. They're moving again." Charlie peeled open one eye. It was like looking through wax paper into a bowl of ink. "Are we sure it's still night, or did God cancel the sun?" "Either way," Ernie said, tossing him a tin mug, "you're gonna want this." Charlie sniffed. "Is this coffee or battery acid?" "Bit of both. Army grade." He sipped. Vision sharpened. Blood pressure tripled. The sandwich dream vanished. The Red Ball Express rolled again at 0200 hours under the strictest blackout protocols. Headlights were hooded with slitted covers. The only illumination came from the tiny cat-eye reflectors on the back of the truck ahead. Charlie's job? Follow the dim glow in front of him without rear-ending it or veering off into a ditch, crater, or angry French vineyard. He hunched over the wheel. Ernie sat beside him, nodding off in 5-second intervals and mumbling nonsense. "Don't let the biscuits eat the mules." Charlie slapped his shoulder. "Stay with me. I'm awake. I'm a cactus. Cactus can't drive." "Okay, you're done talking." 2 hours in, the convoy hit fog. Not the gentle, romantic kind that wraps around Paris lovers. No. This fog was thick as chow line gravy and twice as disorienting. "Visibility zero," Charlie muttered. From the cab, it was like navigating through ghost soup. He couldn't see the truck ahead, couldn't see the ditches, couldn't see his own fingers when he waved them in front of his face. He slowed to a crawl, nose practically against the windshield. "You're good," Ernie said, eyes closed. "You're asleep. I'm spiritually supportive." Suddenly, the truck in front of them slammed on its brakes. Charlie reacted on instinct. He jammed his foot down and yanked the wheel. The rattler skidded sideways, fishtailing in the mud, tires biting and whining. Ernie yelped and grabbed the dash. "We gonna die?" Charlie gritted his teeth. Then, thunk! The truck stopped, just short of a fallen tree blocking the road. Dead silence followed. Ernie panted. "That tree came out of nowhere." Charlie exhaled. "It's a tree. They don't snap." Outside, engines idled while the drivers gathered around the blockage. One of them, a big guy named Lewis, kicked the tree and cursed like it owed him back pay. "We got an axe?" he asked. Someone handed him a hatchet that looked like it came from a Boy Scout manual. He tried hacking. The tree didn't care. Charlie rubbed his face. "This is dumb." He got back in the truck, grabbed a winch cable, and began rigging it to pull the log out of the way. Finally, a job that doesn't involve dodging bullets or Ernie's dreams, he muttered. "You say something!" Ernie called from the cab. Charlie groaned. "Stay in the truck!" With help from another rig, they winched the log just enough to make a crooked path through the mud. The convoy inched forward again. 10 minutes later, gunfire cracked in the distance. Then closer. Charlie tensed. "Was that?" "Yep," Ernie said, sitting up fast. Another burst, closer this time, sharp cracks echoing through the fog like snapping icicles. "Snipers!" someone yelled over the radio. The convoy picked up speed. Trucks swerved, slipped, some nearly rear-ending each other. In blackout conditions, that meant chaos. Charlie gripped the wheel tighter. "Hang on!" Suddenly, the rattler hit a rut and bounced violently. Something clattered from the back. "Cargo's shifting!" Ernie yelled, clambering into the rear. Charlie shouted after him, "Watch your footing!" From the back came muffled swears, a loud clunk, and then Ernie's voice. "Charlie, the ice cream machine's loose. Save the ammo first!" "I am!" That made Charlie smile, even as bullets pinged somewhere off to the right. They made it through the sniper zone without damage, though someone up the line wasn't so lucky. A truck ahead rolled into a ditch, engine hissing. Charlie and 2 others stopped to help. They dragged the dazed driver out, and to safety. He blinked at them, blood trickling from his scalp. "Did I make the turn okay?" Charlie patted his shoulder. "Like a pro." "Nope, battery acid again." Charlie sighed. "Figures." By dawn, the convoy finally reached the supply dump at Argentan. Charlie parked the Rattler, climbed down, and practically kissed the solid, unmuddy ground. Ernie joined him, clutching a mug of actual coffee this time. They sat on the bumper in silence, watching the sunrise over a battlefield they weren't part of yet. "Long night," Ernie said. Charlie nodded. "We're alive. We did lose the cargo, and I think that coffee might be real." They sipped. Then Ernie made a face. "Nope, battery acid again." Charlie. "Figures." Behind them, another driver shouted about missing crates. An officer barked orders. Trucks rumbled in the distance. Charlie leaned back, letting the warmth of the morning sun hit his face. He muttered, mostly to himself, "Welcome to the Red Ball Express. Black coffee, blackout driving, and bullets for breakfast." Ernie raised his mug. "To another night survived." Charlie clinked his cup against it. "And many more we don't remember." August 7th, 1944, south of Falaise, France. Charlie Thompson always said engines were easier than people. They didn't lie. They didn't panic. And when they made noise, at least you could figure out why. That morning, 4 hours out of Argentan, Truck 18, a rusty old GMC 2 ahead of the Rattler, started coughing like it had tuberculosis, and then died with a loud clunk-thud hiss. Charlie recognized that hiss. It was the kind of noise that said, "I give up, I'm never moving again, and also, I might explode soon." The convoy halted. Again. Ernie leaned out the window. "What now?" Charlie sighed, grabbed his toolbox, and muttered, "Time to go sweet-talk another corpse." Truck 18 was driven by Private Alonzo "Zig" Kinney, a skinny Georgia kid with a nervous laugh and a lucky rabbit's foot so worn it looked like a rat's tail. Zig looked panicked. "It just died, man. It made this noise like crunk, and now it won't turn over." Charlie slid under the hood. A minute later, "It's your fuel line. Split clean through. Probably happened when you bounced that pothole back near the church ruins." Zig blinked. "You heard that?" "I felt it 2 trucks back," Ernie chimed in, "and I spilled half a can of beans on my pants." Charlie got to work, pulling tubing and clamps from his ragged kit. A second truck had stopped to help, this one driven by a stocky, hard-nosed sergeant named Maggs. Maggs lit a cigarette and squinted at Charlie. "Grease monkey, huh?" "Mechanic," Charlie said, not looking up. "Monkey's just the job title you get when no one brings spare parts." Maggs grunted approval. "You're fast." Charlie tightened a clamp with his teeth. "Gotta be." The sky above rumbled with distant artillery. Nobody flinched. 10 minutes later, the repair was done. Charlie slapped the hood. "Try it now." Zig turned the key. The engine sputtered, then roared to life. Cheers went up from the roadside. Charlie grinned, face streaked with oil. "Told you." Zig blinked. "You're a magician." "No," Ernie said, hopping down. "Just a guy who's replaced that exact line 6 times this week." Charlie rolled his shoulder, muscles aching. "We need to move. That sound up north is getting louder." The convoy resumed. But 20 minutes later, another problem hit. The map was wrong. Or maybe the road was wrong. Either way, what should have been a straight shot through farmland turned into a wrecked bridge and a very hand-painted sign in French that said, essentially, "No road. Go away." Mags pulled over, climbed out of her truck, and cursed. "We're boxed in." "Backtrack?" Charlie asked. She pointed behind. "Only one way in, one-lane dirt road. No room to turn the rigs. We'd be reversing for miles." Ernie, from his perch on the hood, added helpfully, "We could just invent teleportation." Mag shot him a look. "You volunteering to go first?" They spread out the maps on a hood and tried to figure an alternate route. The options: drive 20 miles east and try a possibly mined back road, sit and wait for engineering crews to fix the bridge, which could take days, take an old forest trail barely wide enough for bicycles, and hope it reconnected to the Red Ball route. Charlie stared at option 3. It was narrow, twisting, and sloped, but doable, barely. He looked at Mags, determined. "We can make it." She raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "You sure?" Charlie shrugged, resigned. "Only one way to find out." The first few trucks made it through okay, grinding over roots and between trees that clawed at the sides like angry wooden cats. Then Zig's truck slipped off the trail. Rear wheel in a ditch, engine stalled. Zig panicked. "I'm stuck. I'm sliding!" Charlie and Ernie were out before Zig finished his sentence. "Ropes!" Urgent. "Logs under the tires! Mags, give me winch slack!" They worked fast, moving like a pit crew on caffeine. Mud caked their boots, sweat poured into their eyes, but slowly, inch by inch, they hauled Zig's truck back onto the path. Ernie collapsed afterward. "I need a medal, or a nap, or both." Charlie smirked. "You'll get a kick in the rear if you fall asleep before we're out of here." By dusk, the convoy emerged from the woods and back onto a battered stretch of road. Trucks honked in relief. Mags approached Charlie, handed him a cigarette, admiring. "You're good in a jam." Charlie lit it, eyes squinting toward the west, where smoke curled on the horizon. Thoughtful. "I grew up fixing things nobody thought were worth saving." She nodded, approving. "Army needs more guys like you." Ernie wandered over, munching a stale cracker, muttering, "Army needs more snacks." Charlie tossed him the last of a chocolate bar from his pocket. Casual. "Don't say I never saved your life." Ernie looked moved. "You're my hero." Charlie rolled his eyes. "Eat it before I change my mind." That night, as they set up camp near a ruined farmhouse, Charlie finally let his hands rest. He stared at them, scraped, blistered, stained with grease and glory. He wasn't a soldier in the way others were, but he was something. A fixer, a fighter, a guy who kept the wheels turning, even when the road vanished and the map lied. And on the Red Ball Express, that was enough. August 9, 1944, north of Le Mans, France. Charlie Thompson had been driving for 5 hours without blinking. Or at least it felt that way. His eyelids were drier than a desert ration, and the only thing keeping him upright was a tin mug of scalding black coffee cradled like holy scripture in his left hand. Ernie was whistling, loudly and badly. "Charlie, if you don't stop that, I'm turning this truck into the Seine." "I'm expressing morale," Ernie said, tapping a spoon against his canteen. "This is a morale convoy." Annoyed. This is a war zone, and you're a musical crime. They were rolling along a narrow French country road, 2 miles south of a small farming village that barely existed on the map. Fields stretched out in every direction, golden and quiet, except for the distant pop of gunfire far to the east. The rattler rattled along, sandwiched in the middle of the Red Ball convoy, hauling crates of rifle ammo, condensed milk, and to Ernie's eternal delight, a suspiciously dented barrel marked, "Cinnamon rolls, do not tip." "I swear," Ernie said, eyes gleaming, "if we crash, I'm saving that barrel before I save you." Charlie raised his coffee. "Good, then we both get what we want." Then the truck in front slammed on its brakes. Charlie hit his pedal fast, spilling half the coffee on his lap. Ernie hit the dash. "Ow! Why do these seats feel like concrete?" Charlie didn't answer. He was squinting through the windshield, surprised. "What the hell is that?" Ernie leaned out the window. "Oh, man." Standing in the center of the road, completely unbothered by 24 army trucks and 800 gallons of diesel fumes, was a cow. Not just any cow, a large brown and white, deeply unimpressed French cow. It blinked once, then lay down in the road. The convoy ground to a halt. Drivers leaned out, craning their necks. Someone shouted, "What's the holdup?" A reply came down the line. "It's a cow." Silence. Then, "Shoot it." Another voice. "Don't shoot it, idiot! That's somebody's dinner." Ernie waved at the cow. "Bonjour, madame, would you kindly move?" The cow ignored him. Charlie rubbed his face. Of all the things we trained for. Mag stomped up from the truck behind them, hands on her hips. "You gotta be kidding me." Charlie gestured. "Cow. I can see that." "What's the Army policy on livestock roadblocks?" she muttered. "Official stance. If it moves, it moves." Charlie. "Want me to tow it?" She looked at the cow, then at Charlie. "You want a medal for dragging Bessie off the road?" Ernie held up a crusty cracker. "Maybe." A local farmer finally appeared, a wiry man with a mustache the size of a broom and a look of total disinterest. He shouted something in French and waved a stick. The cow stood up slowly, like it had just remembered it had somewhere to be. Then it wandered off into a field. The farmer waved at the Americans. Mags stared at him. "Did he just thank us?" Charlie replied, "Either that or he's cursing us for interrupting nap time." The convoy moved on, but not without delay. By the time they hit the next checkpoint, they were 47 minutes behind schedule, which in Army logistics was practically treason. A lieutenant with a clipboard met them at the checkpoint. He looked 19, smelled like starch, and had the dead-eyed gaze of someone who'd never seen action but had memorized every regulation in the manual. "You're late." Charlie pointed back. "We were ambushed." The lieutenant paled. "By what?" Ernie chimed in. "Four-legged insurgent, horns, no mercy." Charlie added, "Mood in French." The lieutenant blinked, then decided not to ask. Later that night, camped under the stars with engines cooling and rations boiling, the convoy relaxed. Someone brought out a harmonica. Someone else passed around a half-loaf of bread that had miraculously survived 3 German air raids and 1 snacking private. Charlie sat on the Rattler's bumper, boots off, eyes closed. Ernie sat beside him, sketching a doodle of the cow in a little notebook. "Gonna name her Gertie," he said. "Why?" "She reminds me of Sarge's mother-in-law." Charlie smirked. That's not gonna end well for you." Ernie shrugged. Nothing ever does. Then came a low rumble, not thunder, not tanks. It was trucks, lots of them, heading the other direction. A different convoy, fresh from the front, battered and streaked with mud. One of the drivers leaned out as he passed and called, "You guys are the ammo run?" Charlie stood. "Yeah." The man grinned grimly. "Hurry up! The 90th's running low, and Jerry's pushing hard." Then he was gone. Just like that, the humor dried. Charlie looked at Ernie. No jokes this time. They both knew, cinnamon rolls or not, the next run would be hell. August 11th, 1944, near Mortain, France. The road looked like it had lost a boxing match with God. Crater after crater pockmarked the route like some drunk artist had tried to paint the moon on Earth. Trees were toothpicks, fences were suggestions, and up ahead, smoke, thick, black, and rising. Charlie tapped the brakes. "Hold up." Ernie, chewing on the stub of a cigar like it owed him money, squinted ahead. "Mortain's just over that ridge, right?" "Was," Charlie said. Behind them, the convoy slowed. Mags pulled up on foot again, clutching her rifle and her usual scowl. "You see that smoke?" Charlie nodded. "Too much for a chimney, not enough for a bonfire. Smells like trouble." Ernie sniffed. "Smells like engine oil and bad decisions." The lead scout truck rolled back with news. The Germans had shelled the supply road ahead during the night. Half the hill was gone. A wrecked Sherman lay on its side like a dead turtle. Worse, the area was under observation. Snipers were rumored, planes too. They had two choices: wait for the engineers, go through. Command's orders came down in less than 5 minutes. Go through. "Great," Ernie muttered. "Another suicide scenic route." Charlie didn't argue. He just started the engine again. Halfway up the hill it got worse. The Rattler's tires caught the edge of a shallow crater. Charlie fought the wheel, leaning into it like he was steering a barge in a hurricane. Behind them, another truck wasn't so lucky. It rolled into a hole the size of a swimming pool and stopped cold. The driver jumped out, a wiry private named Hensley with the nerves of a squirrel. "I'm stuck. Axle's jammed. I'm not moving." Mags jogged up, barking orders. Charlie climbed out again. Ernie followed again. "Did we get drafted as mechanics or miracle workers?" he groaned. Hensley's truck had its front axle bent, just enough to cry about it. Charlie slid under, muttering curses, yanking tools from his ever-dwindling bag. He'd used more spare parts in the last 2 days than he had the whole last month. Mags crouched beside him. "You think it'll roll?" Charlie glanced at the axle, at the truck's load, gasoline drums, and at the sky. "No." She didn't blink. "So? I'll make it roll." He wedged in a metal brace from a broken Jeep they'd passed earlier. Duct tape, wrench, elbow grease, hope. Ernie stood over him with a rifle, watching the ridge nervously. "Charlie?" "Yeah?" "If we get picked off by a sniper, tell my ma I died bravely." Charlie spat a bolt into the dirt. "I'll tell her you tripped over your shoelace." Just as the final bolt was tightened, a high whine cut through the air. Everyone froze. A German fighter plane. Charlie dove under the truck. Ernie hit the dirt. Mags grabbed her helmet and screamed, "Down!" The plane strafed the hilltop. Bullets raking the far side of the road, exploding against a rock face with vicious, metallic screams. Someone screamed. Someone else prayed. Then, silence. The plane peeled off, banking east, low and fast. Charlie emerged slowly. Ernie was face down in a puddle, still muttering, "Hail Mary!" in reverse. Everyone okay?" Charlie called. A few weak thumbs up. No one was dead. This time. Back on the road. The rattler rattled louder now. Something was off in the rear axle, but Charlie didn't care. It moved. That was enough. They rolled past the hilltop, through the smoke, and into Mortain. What was left of it. Mortain looked like it had been chewed up and spit out, a shell of a town. Shattered windows, collapsed roofs, and a church bell still swinging in its tower, eerily out of place among the wreckage. The people, what few remained, watched from cellar doors and shadows. Charlie handed a chocolate bar to a little girl standing barefoot by the ruins. She said nothing, just nodded, and held it like it was gold. That night, the convoy parked in the wreckage of an old orchard. The trees were still standing, but their apples were shredded by shrapnel. One had a helmet lodged in its branches. Another had a tire hanging like a bizarre ornament. Ernie passed around a dented can of peaches he'd liberated from a crate. They shared it without complaint. No one said much. Finally, Mags broke the silence. "You know," annoyed, "this ain't what I signed up for." Charlie stirred the fire with a stick. "What did you sign up for?" She shrugged, thoughtful. "Money? Meals? Maybe a medal? Not patching trucks under fire." Ernie grunted. "I joined for the uniform." Proud. "Ladies love a man in wool." Charlie chuckled. "Yeah? How's that working for you?" Ernie bit into a peach, muttering. "It's not. But the peaches are decent." Charlie lay back against the rattler's wheel that night, staring at the stars through smoke-smeared skies. He wasn't scared, not exactly, but something was building. Pressure, purpose. This wasn't just about delivery anymore. It was survival, for everyone ahead of them, behind them, beside them, and maybe, just maybe, for the man he was becoming. August 13th, 1944. Somewhere near Argentan, France. Charlie Thompson wasn't a sentimental man. He didn't carry photos, didn't keep trinkets, hadn't written a letter home in weeks. But when the mail truck pulled into the convoy with a cloud of dust and a single wooden crate marked postal priority, even he stood a little straighter. Ernie practically sprinted. Come on, I got a dame in Kansas City who writes like a poet and smells like lilacs just from the envelope." Charlie muttered, "That's ink. You're smelling ink. Wrong, my friend. That's romance." Mags rolled her eyes. "That's syphilis waiting to happen." The crate was barely half full. The red ball wasn't glamorous, and mail had a habit of showing up late, burnt, or smelling like cabbage. But today, they got lucky. Ernie ripped into 3 letters like a starving man at a pie contest. His eyes gleamed. "Read this. Dear Ernie, the neighbor's cat had kittens again. We named one after you, but it's cross-eyed and keeps falling into the duck pond." Charlie smirked. Fitting. Ernie beamed. "A whole generation of kittens named after me. That's legacy." Mags got one envelope. She opened it slowly, carefully. Her face didn't change. Then she folded it and tucked it into her boot. Charlie got a letter too, but not from family. It was from Ben Stick Rollins, his old co-driver. the one who'd gotten hit during the July run to Avranches. Left side, shrapnel, evac'd back to England. Charlie hadn't expected to hear from him. Thompson, the letter began, if you're reading this, I'm alive, which is more than I expected. Tell Ernie his jokes are still terrible. Tell Mags to stop pretending she doesn't care. And tell yourself, yeah, I know you won't, that maybe it's okay to stop looking over your shoulder. Charlie stared at the letter for a long time. Then he folded it and didn't say a word. Later, under the olive drab shade of the Rattler's tarp, Charlie found Ernie rubbing something carefully on his socks. "What are you doing?" Ernie looked up, dead serious. "Lard. For luck." Charlie blinked. "You're greasing your socks?"
"It's a family tradition. My uncle survived the trenches in World War I with these socks. He rubbed them with pig lard before every battle." Charlie raised an eyebrow.
"And now you're rubbing yours with—"
"Bacon drippings. Closest I got."
Charlie tried to walk away. Ernie called after him.
"You laugh now, but when a mortar lands 3 feet away and we don't die, that's pig-powered protection."
That evening, the convoy parked near a bombed-out farmhouse with walls like broken teeth. There was still a goat inside, possibly feral. Private Hensley, who was on goat wrangling duty, got bit twice. Ernie said,
"Maybe it's part Nazi."
Charlie said, "Maybe it's smarter than you." Mag sat on an ammo crate, sharpening a knife slowly. Her usual edge had dulled over the last few days, but not by much. She noticed Charlie watching her. "You get a letter?" He nodded. "From who?" "Stick." Mags paused. Her hands stilled. "He okay?" "Mostly. Lost some feeling in his arm, but he's alive." "Damn." Charlie hesitated. "You still think about Chicago?" Mags blinked once, slowly. Then she said, "Only when it rains." They didn't talk more than that, but something passed between them. Not romance, not quite, but something real. Later that night, Charlie found Ernie humming again, a slow, off-key tune. "What now?" Ernie held up a folded page. "Letter from my kid brother. Says he got drafted. Basic training in Georgia. Wants to drive trucks like me." Charlie blinked. "You never said you had a brother." Ernie shrugged. "Didn't come up. He's 16, lied about his age. I told him he was too dumb to pass the vision test." Charlie chuckled, then looked at the fire. "You gonna write him back?" "Already did. Told him if he ends up with a guy like me riding shotgun, he'll live forever." A crack of thunder rolled in from the north. Except it wasn't thunder. It was artillery. Real. Close. Charlie stood. So did Mags. The Rattler needed to roll. Again. And the socks? Still greasy. August 16, 1944. South of Falaise, France. The road was narrower now, not just in width, though it barely fit 2 trucks anymore, but in feel. Every bump, every rattle in the Rattler's old frame felt like a heartbeat. They weren't hauling supplies to the front anymore. They were the front. Falaise was up ahead. What was left of it? German forces were being squeezed into a pocket like toothpaste, and the Allies were squeezing hard. The Red Ball convoy had one job: get ammo in, get wounded out. Repeat. Charlie hadn't shaved in 3 days. Ernie hadn't stopped chewing gum since dawn. Mags had stopped talking altogether. They hit the ridge at noon. Below, smoke, dust, and the sound of machine guns snapping like teeth. The fields around Falaise were no longer golden. They were gray and churned as if the earth itself had been fighting. Charlie gripped the wheel. Well, this is it. Ernie nodded. The big one. A shell exploded a mile off, close enough to feel it in their chests. Mags leaned against the side of the Rattler, cigarette in her mouth, eyes scanning the skyline. "This is a bad idea," she muttered. Ernie grinned. "All the best ones are." They rolled in convoy formation, engines coughing, dust flying. The soldiers at the edge of the pocket, dirty, bloodied, exhausted, barely looked up as the trucks passed. Charlie saw one sitting against a fence post, helmet in his lap, staring at nothing, just chewing a piece of bread with 1,000-yard eyes, the kind of eyes that didn't blink anymore. Charlie kept driving. No one talked. The drop point was a bombed-out schoolyard. The trucks parked in formation, their backs to the rubble, unloading box after box of 30-calorie rations and morphine. One medic grabbed a crate and shouted, "About damn time!" Charlie nodded. "Sorry, got stuck behind a cow." The medic blinked. "What?" Ernie yelled from the truck bed. "Don't ask!" Then came the reverse run. Bodies. Wounded soldiers were loaded into the emptier trucks, moaning, shivering, bandaged. One had a leg missing. Another kept whispering for his mom. Charlie handed a blanket to a medic. Then he caught sight of a face he recognized. Stick Rawlins, bandaged from shoulder to wrist, pale, but alive, squinting. "Charlie?" Stick squinted. Charlie froze, surprised. "What the hell are you doing here?" Wearily, "Couldn't stay away. They patched me up, sent me back to logistics. Wrong place, wrong time. Again." Charlie shook his head, disbelieving. "You're insane." Stick grinned. "Takes one to know one." The convoy pulled out. Charlie drove in silence, the Rattler humming low. He could feel every mile in his bones now. Every day of this mad, patched together, grease-soaked, half-lucky run. And still, they were moving. At the last checkpoint before heading back toward Le Mans, a general, an actual starched, Silver Star-wearing general, flagged down the convoy. Charlie braced for a lecture. Instead, the general raised a battered canteen in salute.
"Hell of a job," he said. "They're calling it the Falaise Miracle. You boys made the squeeze possible. Roads held, guns fired. And those Germans? They're boxed in tighter than last year's prom tux."
Ernie leaned out the window. "Do we get a medal?" The general smiled.
You get to live. That good enough?"
Charlie nodded. "It'll do." 2 days later, they were back at base. Mags finally spoke again, just once, and it was to tell Ernie to stop singing Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy for the 7th time that hour. Charlie sat on a crate, boots off, staring at a postcard he'd found in the wreckage near Falaise. It had been singed, torn. A picture of the Eiffel Tower. On the back, one sentence. "We'll see it when it's over." He wasn't sure if it was written by a soldier, a tourist, a dreamer, but he folded it carefully and kept it in his breast pocket. That night, they celebrated. Sort of. Someone smuggled in a bottle of something brown and probably illegal. They toasted with dented mugs.
"To the Rattler! To bacon grease socks! To cows who won't move! To letters, lies, and lard! To Stick! To Mags, the meanest angel on wheels!
Mags rolled her eyes. If any of you kiss me, I'm shooting you. Ernie.
Noted.
Then silence. A kind of warm, golden silence that only comes at the end of something terrible and the beginning of something else. Charlie leaned back, hands behind his head, and looked up at the stars. They weren't home yet, but they were on the road, and maybe that was enough.